Here's Brody Brazil.
Okay, to be clear, as I record this, it is not official at this moment. The Edmonton Oilers have not put it out that Evander Kane is joining their team, but that is highly expected after the events of today. The Oilers do play a game tonight. Maybe they're just delaying the news for that purpose to get the game started and then put it out to not distract from before the game activities. But it is highly anticipated from a number of reliable sources that Evander Kane will be joining the Edmonton Oilers on a one-year contract, finishing out the rest of this season. But before we dive into that, you need to understand the latest and how things have developed. In fact, even today, number one, Evander was cleared by the NHL for the whole issue of crossing the border while he was under COVID protocol. I'll have information from the league in just a second. He remains a free agent. He was before this. It's important to note he didn't just become a free agent. It's just that teams were hesitant to sign him if they didn't know that there would or would not be discipline from the NHL. There's not going to be because of that incident. I'm assuming he's signing with the Oilers. I'm assuming he's signing to the league minimum or somewhere around there on just a one-year deal to finish out the rest of this season. Again, as I'm recording this, the details are not final. I want to be very clear about that. By the time you're watching this, it might be a different story. And the fourth and final point here, I know a lot of Sharks fans are watching this video for information of this kind. The process with San Jose is still not completed. Maybe there are some things tied to the investigation and how things will be settled with the Sharks, but as of right now, the grievance process that was started by Evander and his team, that has not been completed with the league, maybe an arbitrator in the middle of there, and the San Jose Sharks. So that is still kind of ongoing. That is not fully resolved. It's important to notate that. So here's the news release from earlier today. The National Hockey League announced today that it has concluded its investigation into the circumstances pursuant to which Evander Kane traveled cross-border during the holiday period. The report prepared in connection with the investigation, which was conducted by Patterson, Belknap, Webb, and Tyler LLP, concluded that there was insufficient evidence to, quote, conclusively find that Mr. Kane knowingly made misrepresentations regarding his COVID-19 status or test results in connection with his international travel, end quote. Soak that in for just a second. That was worded very, very carefully. It was not simply said. There was insufficient evidence to conclusively find that Mr. Kane knowingly made misrepresentations regarding his COVID-19 status or test results in connection with his international travel. Again, just digest that for a second. As a result, the league has determined not to pursue any additional league-imposed discipline against Kane at the current time. Kane remains an unrestricted free agent and is currently eligible to sign and play for any NHL club without restriction. So that's obviously what we are assuming he's done here with the Edmonton Oilers. Here's my instant reaction to him joining Edmonton. Not surprised. They're a team that got off to a tremendous start, and then right before Christmas, and then a COVID situation with the team, and they just struggled. Didn't win a game in about a month's time. They're slowly trying to find themselves again. When you got a Connor McDavid and you got a Leon Draisaitl and you're performing like they have been, I don't want to say you're instantly desperate, but you are more willing to try things. You're more willing to take an experiment, to take a risk with Evander Kane. You're willing to go down this road because you feel like you're just adding more talent to the team. And, you know, they're in a situation and a spot, I feel like, that's not surprising. They would add Evander. And I'll be honest, I've been saying here on this channel, I've been saying elsewhere, I wouldn't be surprised if pretty soon after this gets settled with Evander, that he becomes a free agent, that another team would take a chance on Evander. I'm not surprised by that one bit. They saw what he did last season. They're interested in that. But that brings me to point number two, the contract, if it is, as reported, if it's just the rest of this year, if it's basically at a minimum amount, something that fits under the cap, something that is not a long-term agreement, it's, hey, let's do this. Let's both gain from this. You get to come back and play. We'll use your services. Not surprised that the contract is tight in terms of money or in time, or in terms of the actual term of time. I also want to point out, too, joining Edmonton, you know, I said before that they're a team that's more likely to go out on this, you know, this limb and take this chance. But I also think that Evander would be joining a team with a media market where, man, they are just going to be all over his performance, his every move. And that's kind of my fourth point here. There is going to have to be a warm-up period for Evander. I mean, the last time he was regularly playing hockey was what, last April or May? Regular season with the Sharks? When did things wrap up last year? I don't even remember. But, I mean, he did play a couple games with the Barracuda, maybe skating on his own, but he hasn't done a formal training camp this year. I'm just saying, we know what he's capable of. There's no question. Let's not make that part of this. We know where his bar is set. But I'm just saying that if Edmonton and the media and the fan base there is going to expect 100% of Evander Kane from day one, that's going to spark already some of that close media eye, maybe some criticism. And that's on the ice stuff. I hope it goes well for him off the ice, because I feel like they're just going to be all over him no matter what he does. And that's why probably it's important to just play, maintain a low profile, and move on with your business. I'm just saying that, things for players in that market have always been scrutinized. Certain other Canadian markets have always been scrutinized. That makes it just an even more interesting situation. Okay, back to the Sharks. I assume that's why a lot of people are watching this video. San Jose plays the Oilers 4 more times in the rest of this regular season, including their very next home game. That's on Valentine's Day, the 14th of February, then again on the 24th of March, then April 5th and April 28th. 2 home games, 2 road games, and starting on February 14th, that home game for the Sharks, what does it bring? Fan base, reaction to Evander on the opposition, players, a player and his former teammates. There's a lot to digest, and I don't want to predict like I know something is or isn't going to take place, or it will or won't be a certain way. I'm just saying from the human element, right? This is an interesting story in our sports angle. And then the other thing here, we're talking about, on the ice, team versus their former player. It's kind of frustrating in a way that the Sharks can't officially move on yet. They don't know how to resolve this situation from their own salary cap perspective. It's kind of unclear, right, that Evander has now reportedly signed with a new team, but I'm not sure that the money situation and the cap situation and however it's going to all be resolved with Evander and the Sharks, that stuff is not squared away yet. So I don't know that even if they wanted to, it's the right time for the Sharks to move on, commit cap space elsewhere, money elsewhere. It's unresolved yet. That's unfinished business. However, Evander already has his next step, it seems, signed, sealed, and delivered. So that is, like I said, a bit of a frustrating part for the Sharks side of things. He's got the opportunity to be getting a new start, but they don't have the opportunity to officially end that chapter with their former number 9. So that's the very latest on Evander Kane. A lot going on today. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked the presentation. Also, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.